SBR Videos is sponsored by Sports Cash System. Click on the link below for more information. Hi, welcome to SBRForum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing UFC 167, the main card right now, and we are talking with former UFC fighter and MMA analyst Frank Trigg, and our returning guest, our regular guest, Nick Kalikas from MMAoddsbreaker.com. All right, guys, this fight we're going to discuss, Robbie Lawler, Rory MacDonald, and here we go again, right? Another, great tactician who can control and dictate the fight as a big favorite. Rory MacDonald's minus 335 right now against, a brawler with a puncher's chance who seems outclassed but kind of a fan favorite. Robbie Lawler is plus 275 on the other side. The question here is, how much of a puncher's chance does Lawler really have? And with those chances, which side does that give value to? I'm not exactly sure. Frank Trigg, how do you see this matchup?
This was a tough matchup because Lawler's got to actually wrestle like he's supposed to wrestle. But the problem is that Rory MacDonald has such a long reach, and he knows how to stay just outside your punching range and use his reach, that Lawler's going to be very, very difficult to get. It's going to be very difficult for him to get any striking off. Lawler's best punches are his uppercuts, his hooks, and his hooks from both sides. Those are his knockout blows. He's not a long, lengthy, use end of your punch kind of boxer on his feet. And when he wants to wrestle, he has to use a lot of energy. And sometimes Lawler is scared to use a lot of energy because he's going to wear down late. And he's worried about being exhausted late in the round, so he doesn't want to use a lot of energy early. Really, in this one, Rory MacDonald has all the tools and all the ability to be the next GSP, like they've been hiring him and scouting him to be for several months now. Almost a year and a half of him being he's the next GSP. But this is Robbie Lawler. Somehow, some way, he's got a golden angel on his shoulder. He finds a way to win these big matchups when everyone is kind of against him. He did it to me when we fought. He knocked me clean unconscious when we fought in the fourth round, even though I was winning. I had won 3 of the 4 rounds. Now in the fourth round, I was winning the fourth round, and I get knocked out unconscious because he finds a way to win. He's got that mental attitude and that heart that you can't teach to a fighter. And you've never seen Rory get knocked hard yet. You've only seen him take a couple of small peppering shots, a little small cut, a little small eye, but never the kind where you get hit so hard the back of your knees, your calves, and your ankles completely shut off, but your body won't let you fall down yet. Your body goes into panic and your mind starts to do crazy things. You're not sure what's going to happen next. In this fight, potentially we can see Rory have to go through that exact same thing and see what's going to happen with him and how he reacts. So right now, because Rory's such a huge, heavy favorite, and the fans of everybody I'm talking to, and everyone thinks that Rory's the only guy and Robbie doesn't have a chance, I'm kind of leaning towards Robbie because he just doesn't care about the media, the press, and what the fans have to say. Robbie's only concern is going out there, busting his knuckles on your chin, putting you to sleep, and going home and spending the money with his wife and kids.
I mean, normally we think of the puncher's chance for the big underdog as something we see in the province of more heavyweights, but that is obviously the case here with Lawler. The question is, Frank, what do you make of Lawler? I mean, he's gone 2-0 since he returned to the UFC, but before that, he went 3-5 in Strikeforce. It's almost like he became a different fighter with his return to the UFC. I mean, do you think that was just sort of like a fluke, kind of a mirage in those 2 fights, and then he's going to return back to his ways from Strikeforce?
Put himself finally on a diet to get his weight down under control, put himself on a real MMA lifting program, not a bodybuilding program trying to look good for the camera. He's on a real athletic lifting program now, and he's a guy that's got rid of everybody else in his team that was just holding him down and slowing him down. He moved camps, he moved cities, he's changed, he's married, and he stays at home now at night and doesn't have to worry about these weird little things. And he's finally come to realize that his super quiet, really shy kind of way is okay. He doesn't have to come out of his shell and be and talk a lot of trash in the media. He doesn't have to come out of his shell and be somebody that he's not. Being himself is good enough to go ahead and win these fights, and that's why he's kind of in a different position. Plus now he's in a position where he's making a lot more money because he made the transition over to the UFC. And we all know the difference between winning and losing is half your paycheck. So if he wins, he gets a lot more money, and he understands this, so he has a lot more passion and a lot more focus on the fight game.
Right. All right. So what would you take then from MacDonald's last fight against Ellenberger? Because that's sort of a similar situation. Ellenberger, pretty much, a pretty potent striker, pretty dangerous striker. And, a lot of people said that was a big snooze fest. And, maybe it wasn't the most exciting fight to watch. But from a tactical standpoint, pretty impressive how MacDonald just held him off with a jab and just absolutely dictated the way the fight would go. Do you see this fight as likely to go the same way?
No, because Ellenberger changed his tactics. When he got ready to fight Jay Haran, and before he fought Martin Kampman, Ellenberger kept getting told he goes too hard, too quick, too early in the round. So he goes very hard the first and second round and gasses out in the third. So he hasn't knocked you out or beat you up decisively in the first 2 rounds. He has no comeback cardio. He can't come back and win the fight in the third round because he's spent. So he started backing off quite a bit. You see him against Iran, you see him against Campman, he starts backing off. Then when he's against MacDonald, he backed off again. He's trying to save his energy for later in the rounds. And a guy like MacDonald that uses really long, straight punches and hits you in that last 2 or 3 inches of that punch range knows how to keep you at bay with a jab because that's where you're going to sit. Lawler's not going to sit on the outside. Lawler's not an outside boxer. He's not a guy that worries about his boxing cardio. He worries about his wrestling cardio. MacDonald doesn't want to make this a wrestling match. So what's going to happen is that Lawler's going to step inside and be in that punching range. So it's a different kind of game. You're going to have to see MacDonald learning how to use angles, back up a little bit, and can he still use his length while Lawler's coming forward. Ellenberger didn't come forward that much, even though historically this matchup should be almost the same. Ellenberger has changed his fighting style, and as a result, he's lost and won some very, very close fights that he should have been a complete juggernaut and just going forward and going hard. He would have crushed his way through it because he changed his stance and style. No one's sure what's going to happen with him now. Lawler hasn't done that. Lawler's gotten in better shape, gotten stronger, and gotten more physical and gotten more focused with MMA, but hasn't changed what he does. He's going to stay right inside your pocket, beat the crap out of your face, and make you fall down because you can't hit him because his defense is getting so much better.
All right, awesome points. Frank Trigg making a great argument for Robbie Lawler as a live dog. Nick Kalikas, how's the public been betting this?
All one-way action. I mean, everybody's all over Rory. Like Frank mentioned, I mean, the guy technically and the skill set and what he's showed so far, it's hard to argue that he's not going to eventually take over for GSP because he's such a well-rounded fighter. He's got good wrestling. He's got good BJJ. As you mentioned, he had a big test last time against Ellenberger, and he outpointed him well. I mean, people were disappointed. It was a close decision, but he did what he had to do to outpoint him, and there really wasn't much controversy to me because he deserved to win that fight by doing just that. Now, a lot of people do bank on the same thing happening here with Robbie Lawler. I think a lot of people are looking at his Strikeforce fights and looking at different matchups, like against Tim Kennedy, how he should have possibly had a striking advantage there and he got let down. So Robbie Lawler, even against other strikers, has gotten beat. But at 170, I agree with everything that Frank said. He's a different fighter. He's taking the sport more serious. You can really tell. I mean, gradually in his progression, even in those Strikeforce fights, you could tell his wrestling has improved a little bit. He was working hard. He was trying to transform himself. He was taking the sport a lot more serious. And I think the timing with him coming back to the UFC was perfect. He dropped the weight class. We all see how impressive he's been since then. I mean, Josh Koscheck, he's always been at the top of the welterweight division. A lot of people question that stoppage, say it might have been a little bit too soon, but Lawler still, he showed his takedown defense. He showed his wrestling ability to get back up on the feet and end that fight. Now, in his fight against Volker, a lot of people thought that would be a closer fight. He was a decent favorite in that fight, but Volker hard to finish. We saw a completely different Lawler. He was aggressive. He was smart. He was mixing things up better on the feet, and he brought that knockout power and more so with him. So that was pretty impressive as well. Robbie Lawler has such good takedown defense that I think it's kind of a dangerous fight for Rory in this spot. I know, like I said, a lot of people are going to expect him to outpoint Lawler, and that's a possibility. But Lawler's going to be pushing the pace a little bit more than Ellenberger did. He's going to be coming after him a lot more hungry, and he could possibly get that knockout punch because Lawler has that kind of nasty knockout power that Ellenberger did, maybe more so. And he's not afraid to use it.
All right. Sounds like both of you are implying that this line is just a bit too high. Frank Trigg, so at the current odds, you would take Robbie Lawler at plus 275.
Absolutely.
All right. And if he does win, you think that it's got to be by knockout, right?
Yeah, I don't see him being able to. He got a decision. He doesn't have that cardio shape to do it, but I do see him being able to sting MacDonald. It might be knockout, but it could be TKO as well.
Nick, everyone knows that. So basically, the prop for Robbie Lawler by knockout is going to be pretty close to just Robbie Lawler winning, right?
Well, 5 times always gives you some value in their props. Right. You got to love that. So you could find some value in Lawler by knockout or, like you said, Rory by decision. But it is tough because Rory can end it inside, too. He's sneaky good. So that's what makes this fight a little bit more interesting. We might have a premium bet somewhere along the lines, either with a total or one way or another here. So make sure you guys got MMA Oddsbreaker to solidify this play or not.
All right. Awesome insights. Thanks so much, guys.